Hallelujah and Shabbat Shalom. Thank you once again for joining Restoring the Branches Ministry. As we always say to the 12 tribes of Israel that have been scattered and dispersed, special salute, special love. As Shaul says to the Yahudim first, then to the Gentiles. We offer, as always, to all the creatures, all the people who want to get themselves right and aligned with Messiah, with Yahshua HaMashiach, with the Word, being filled and carrying His Spirit, and walking out the Word and just living. So we want to thank you, and we also want to open an invitation and open our hands to you. And I want to thank you once again for joining Restoring the Branches Ministry. Today we're on part 4 of our series of Black History Month, or really the mystery of Black history. And we're on part 4 today, our final series. So we'll be wrapping it up and keeping things moving. So the title today is Mystery of Black History Part 4, The Curses, Blessings, and Our Healing as Yah Turns His Face to Us. So we want to talk about everything that we've talked about in this previous month has led up to the people of color, and I'm primarily talking about people in America because we live in America. You know, but this addresses other people living in other places. As we've kind of always said, we do believe that there are other people who are not my shade color who are Israelites. And not trying to disprove or anything, you know, to anybody else. We're just talking about us for a change because there's such a high opinion of people of color in America, and a lot of times it's not always good. So I was on the other side. So we just want to tell our story ourselves. So we have to go and kind of do the work and grind and dig it out and find the treasures, and then get them out. But something that we talked about the prophecy teachers who talk about prophecy and teach prophecy, and this when Jeremiah says this means this, and then this in Revelation this, and then Daniel this, and they're really never not talking about you. Right, we're really kind of never included. You know, we're included because we might live in a certain country, or I might have a certain citizenship, you know, or well, you know, Jesus can grab in anybody, you know, but it's never really addressing, or you're really never addressed. And as we get to the end, Yah has unfinished business. He has unfinished business. So when we look at how far and how deep and how way back we go, we can kind of see, well, like, yeah, he got mad and we had to go. And it's like when you have a relationship with somebody, you know, and you just kind of call it off. You just kind of call it off, and, you know, we'll work it out one day, but today ain't that day. We're just going to call it off. And then when you least expect it is when you kind of buck back into that person. That person, we say phrases, so-and-so came back into my life. So the Yah, His glory is like the sunrise coming up in His glory as He turns His face to those who are scattered. The glory it has no choice but to hit you. It has no point but to light up on you, and then you realize that you were a topic, that you were of importance. And He's like, hey, I never forgot about you. I just had to get some time away from you. I need some time away from you. I took a time out from you. So as we're going into this end time, and all the problems and all the high crime rate, the drugs, the things we talked about, the curses that were invoked before you got on the ship, the obeah and the voodoo and the curses put on you before you got on the ship. Yah said, yeah, I did it, and I gave Him the power to do it. I had my back turned to you. I never forgot about you. It just one time. It just one time. We need healing. The land need healing. We're going to look at that today. You cannot have the largest homosexual parade in the world, in the Holy Land, and everything good. So, but He said the land was going to be a mess. He compared it to like wild animals just running through the land. So He got to get the people right. Because when the people get right, when your mind is right, you treat stuff with better ownership. Phrase we use it all the time when I was coaching. The best players to have in your locker room they claimed ownership to the program. They weren't using the program. They weren't renting the program. This wasn't a stepping stone to get somewhere else. It was, I take pride or I take pleasure in this, what we're doing. Ownership. So y'all don't have no ownership. Y'all in the land and you're this, you're that, you're high-minded, you're snooty, you're this, you're hustling, you're pimping, and all this other stuff. So you got to go. I'd rather let the land go to ruins than for you to be here and mess up my house. So now there's more of a desire. People want to go home. You say, man, get me out of here. I'm not from here. I want to go home. So now he's like, okay, they starting to have more of a desire. They're going to keep the house clean. I ain't got to say, man, clean up your room. Clean up your room. Do the dishes. Cut the grass. Ain't going to be like that no more. Folks going to be fighting each other to cut that grass. Room going to be, folks, it's going to be like military. I can eat off the floor if stuff is so clean. So with that being said, so what we're expecting is kind of like, make sure I got this on. Don't embarrass myself. Like that. You don't know what's about to happen. You just sitting there, that door cracking, and it could be a good guy coming to save the day. It could be for the guys, it could be the beautiful woman about to walk through the door. For the ladies, it could be the handsome man coming through the door. Or it could be a guy coming in to kick your butt because you're not ready. You're not ready. And Yahshua going to be like, you're still uncircumcised. And you're uncircumcised with the uncircumcised. So I'm going to treat you like you're uncircumcised. And it's fair, it's just. It's just. You heard. You knew. There was somebody in your life that you knew that turned back. They were turning back to me as I'm turning back to them. And you said, I'm good. I like my aspect of life. I like my theology on the Bible. I'm good. So there could be a bad mamma jamma coming through that door, not to give you a hug, not to ask for no sugar, but to come in and put something bad to you. Okay. So our objectives have been the same, and we've covered being the blacks in America and what the Bible says and the heritage when it become black, the origins, the ancestral home. So we had to go back to West Africa. We want to talk about Israel and Canaan, but we got to go back to West. You must go back. And then when we went there, it was like, oh, they migrated from somewhere else. Other people said these people here aren't even really from here. They might look like us, but they're not from here. So we covered and went through those different things. The black experience becoming shallow and vague. Does it affect our self-esteem? Right? We had the different pictures of a man looking like a woman, and just the guns, and there's all the different things. Today we got it. This is how do we heal? How do we heal? Because if you've been in a relationship and you had a bad breakup, it hurts. It hurts. You don't want to brush your teeth. You don't want to get up out of bed. You don't want to do your hair. You just looking sloppy and slouchy. And if you're it hurts. So how can we be disconnected from the Creator, the one who gave you life? We won't even talk about the ruach. We'll just talk about the nefesh, just your soul. Your soul. And there's a disconnect between you and him, but the relationship, I'm good, I'm straight. No way, impossible. You're lying. Or what some say? You're not thinking straight. Okay, you're not thinking straight. So a quick review, as we talked about, a lot of ideas by black kids was given by others. Different things programmed in the mind. These are definitions of black: dirty, soiled, black magic. Then it was obviously African American. There's no shame in guilt and self-identification. The shame is keeping the truth dormant, right? Not telling the truth about. So like some of us probably didn't know that there was a Ghana kingdom and a Mali kingdom and a Songhai kingdom, and these were. everybody is trading and doing business, and there's Timbuktu, and there wasn't a Harvard then, there wasn't an Oxford then. You went to Timbuktu to study. You wanted to translate language, you go to Timbuktu, you know. So if you were European, you got to cover your whole body up. They have a lot of water. Okay. The ancestry being a mystery for a reason, right? That was Yah's plan and purpose. The scholars and theologians, 18th and 19th centuries, right? I mean, you were just a beast of the field. There was a justification of slavery as it modified into like things like eugenics today. We have Planned Parenthood today. It was the first time in human history there was a global impact economically, right? That's huge. Huge global impact economically based off an isolated group for free labor, right? And then I'm going to build my nation off you, okay? And then I'm going to call it capitalism. Awesome. I love it. So that had never happened before, right? So we looked at how sugar and rum were universally moving, and it was based off of moving slaves. Cutting it. So when we go to New Orleans or Louisiana, we go to that slave plantation, it's hot as fire, number one. And they're working 12-hour shifts during high seasons for I mean, people are dying. Swinging that machete. Oh, my bad, Brother Aaron. Machete to his head. You know what we're doing? We're taking them and throwing them off, let the crocs eat them, and we're back to work. Okay, so there was so much money being generated that it would mean you're able to establish yourself, and it was going on globally. Part 2, the mistaken identities, Yah's hidden ones. We talked about Satan's propaganda, right? So we don't want to always be this man or this group or that religion, but the crux, the enemy is here, right? So we have to have more attention on the enemy, the adversary, because he hates Yah. And if you're made in the image or created, that means I hate you. Right? I'll use you, I'll play you. Oh, that person there, they're black, so they're this, or they're white, so they're this. But he hates all who are made in the image of Elohim. Okay? So there's really public enemy number one, is Satan. Okay? We talked about the reaping of iniquity with the seeds and the plant. Reaping iniquity because wickedness was sown. So certain things that happened, you know, we kind of looked at in West. Well, I don't want to jump the gun. So things of wickedness being sown and passed down from generation to a generation. The children of Israel being wrapped in sin for a variety of reasons, right? I mean, so you can't always say, "Hey, it's her fault. It's his fault." No. Sin lies and waits at the door for you, right? It's waiting for you. You don't have to let it in. It's a choice. We're going to talk about today, choice. It's a choice. Talk about the mind, the 3 parts of the mind, unconscious, subconscious, and the conscious mind effects on all people. So when things that are said are reprogrammed in people's minds, it's stuck in the unconscious and subconscious, and you just like a robot, like an android, you just spit it out. Okay? Yah will cause Israel to be in astonishment by all nations. Remember being stupefied. Say, I'm a slap the stupid on you and leave it there. That's what he said. You will be viewed from all the nations. Okay? The legacy of trauma, right? To have all these different things happen. You know, I see my mother murdered. I see my father murdered. Or I'm separated from my sister. Or I'm seeing just the one book we read out of where they pulled the woman up from the water and the shark had eaten half her body. Right? Trauma. I'm traumatized. And there was no counseling. There was nothing. So now the trauma is passed down. And then where's the healing at? Okay. Then we talked about Psalms 3-4. The crafty, the haram, to make one bear. Right? So there is the idea of, yes, slaves were so naked. But it was a physical picture showing something way more spiritual. That they're being stripped of who they are, being stripped of their name, their identity, their culture, where they come from, their ancestors, and that's the crafty counsel. Okay? And the hidden or the treasure was the safan, to cover and hide. So Yah did cover up his treasure. I have something special, I'm going to put it up. Why? I don't trust you. But if you find it, you can do whatever you do. Okay? Just know what you do gonna come back on you, right? But that's in Revelation, right? Those who kill with the sword get killed with the sword. Those who lead into captivity, they go into captivity. Okay. So part 3 was last week. We talked about the scattering of Yah, the Hebrew of scattering. I think it was the poops, and it was like a hammer hitting a rock, and the way the rock just explodes, and that's how Yah scattered us. Hit us upside the head, and we just scattered. Okay. Yahshua, over and over in the Gospels, was sent for the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Over and over and over, over and over and over. Okay. Yah says he will gather those that he scattered. Right. So we read that in the prophets, and then we looked and we saw what Yahshua was saying, and that we realize that he is the one that's going to gather Israel. Right. So he's going to gather those that most people despise. Okay. Israel was geologically, right, a part of the African continent. It's a part of the tectonic plate, right? So the land of Canaan is part of Africa, literally. We had multiple sources, biblical sources and extra biblical sources, pointing to Israelites being on the African continent, right? So we looked in the Bible, obviously, and we looked in the Apocrypha when they were writing to all the Yehudim in Africa. We had different historians saying, hey, yes, a bunch of them out there, a whole bunch of them out there. Then we talked about the big three, right? And it wasn't Paul, Ray, and Kevin Garnett, but it was Ghana, Mali, Songhai. Okay, and then those kingdoms that started back in like 300 AD. So we kind of get an idea of when they ran out or left, forced out of Israel or out of Canaan, that going into Africa, they had to have done something. They had to be doing something. Just not sitting there hiding for thousands of years. Like, no, they building empires and got gold and dominating trade, and it's all kind of good stuff. And then we talked about the culture and the customs and the views of the people. I messed up right there. Sorry. So that's what we looked at. We looked at the Soydan, or the Sudan, right? We know Sudan is here, but it's really from Somaliland all the way over to Sengambia. This was also the Balad al-Sudan, was what the Arabs called the land of the blacks and the Negro land. And the Ghana, one of the Ghana kings with all the gold on today. The Igbo, the Jews in Nigeria, and then, you know, so we covered quite a bit these last 3 weeks. So we're going to talk about the curses. The curses. And this is where we went to the Whitney plantation in Louisiana. Can't remember the city right now, but it was amazing, and it will. You know, I had the shivers, didn't I? Because you get a first-hand feel of what it was like, right? So you have the one room that when you get there, it's got all and this is where you know has all the shackles and the chains, and you know it talks about the Trans-Saharan slave trade and the transatlantic slave trade, right? So there was we'll get to it. So when you're walking on the plantation, it's huge, and there are different spots. I mean, it takes you somewhere, and you realize when you see the fruit trees and you see the fruit on the ground. And you think about the scripture where Yah says, hey man, you're going to do stuff, you're going to grow fruit, you're going to do this, and you ain't going to be able to touch it. So they're growing food and growing fruit, and you know what? You can't touch it. Think the whistle walk stood out to me, when the women was in the bread house, and this little house that's got them ovens in there and it's hot. And while you're baking bread, as you bring the bread from the house to the master's house, you're going through the back door, and there's a sidewalk you walk on. It's called the whistle walk. I'm like, man, why you got to whistle? And the tour guide said, well, you have to whistle so you're not eating that food. They know you ain't eating that food. Wow. It's called the whistle walk. So once again, more scriptures. The scriptures just kind of float the mind. Feigning and failing for those all day, all night long. When they talk about the 12-hour shifts, Oh, I wish it was daytime. Oh, you're going to faint for the day. Oh, you're going to wish it was nighttime. When it was nighttime, you wish it was day. When it was day, you wish it was night. Yeah, it makes sense. You're working 12 hours. So this was a holding cell that, well, wow. You know, so it was a great experience. It was a real experience. I can't say great. It was a real experience. And the lady at the end, we got to talking because, you know, I like talking about stuff like this. And I didn't give her, I didn't say, hey, you know, I'm a Hebrew. You know, I ain't do all that. But she said something that I thought was so profound. She said, and she was a knowledge book on this stuff. I mean, she was going in. And she said, I don't know what it is, but God ain't pleased with us. So let me get y'all that address. I'm going to send y'all some. And I just sent them a bunch of books. They give books to the prison. There's a prison out there. Right? There's a prison by the former plantation. Wow. And they give free books out. So I sent books to give to the brothers. You know, oh yeah. We going. So Deuteronomy 28:46 says, and they shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder and upon thy seed forever. So we're talking about the curses of Deuteronomy 28, right? 1 through 14, everything's good, right? You're on the Most High good side, right? But I think it's what 15 through 68. So the sign, there should be a sign and for a wonder upon thy seed forever. So not just for you at that time, but for your progeny that follows behind. Okay, so sign, all right, the Hebrew for that is ot. Ot. So when we look in our Hebrew, we have vai, va, hayu, bacha, laot. Okay, ul mofet, right? Wonder, uv zar akah, ad olam, forever. Okay. Forever. So sign in Hebrew, sign on Deuteronomy 28:46, sign is ot. Ot is built from the child root ot. Okay? And it means consent, right? Something to consent. So like Genesis 34:15, the consent was what? Was that if we circumcise ourselves, that's a sign, right? That we've joined ourselves to you and we can have your women and you can have our women, right? But we remember everything that what happened. But this sign is what is the word ot, and that's what they use in Genesis 34:15 in regards to being able to have the Jacob's daughters, right? This is after Dinah was raped. Okay, so that sign, right? Ot is what is used in 28:46. It's a sign, signal, a distinguishing mark, banner, resemblance, a miraculous sign. Okay, so what he says in Deuteronomy 28:46, that these curses will be a sign or a signal. It's a distinguishing mark. It's a banner, remembrance. So it's something that people sees to make you remember. To make you remember. Okay, we're going to look at this down here. We got a lot of Hebrew students in here. But Vayomer Elohim Yehi Mohrot Bir Kia Hashemayim Lahavdil Ben Hayom Uven Halila Vaihu Laotot Ul Moadim Ul Yamaim Vashanaim. Okay, so what do we just read here? Well, we're looking for ot, and we got ot. Ot was right here. La otot. Okay, so this is a sign for you to know something. So we're going to look at what this is, what we just read in Hebrew. And God said, "Let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for ot, signs, and for seasons, and for days, and for years." So the word for sign in Deuteronomy 28:46 regarding the curses is a sign. It's the same word used for us to know the seasons, the days, right? We look up for the moon. We're looking for the new moon, looking for the crescent, right? So that word that is to be a sign upon the children of Israel for disobedience and for curses is the same sign that we look at to follow the Moedim. So one of them can't be, oh no, it's not that deep. Those things, they just happen. They happen to everybody. Everybody has some kind of slavery. Well, that's the same. But when he said sign, as easy and as often as we look for signs and days and years in the heavens, is the same sign that is used for the curses to be on the people. So one of them is plain, and the other one, well, it's kind of complicated. See what happens but that's what happens when you try to diminish the truth. Just let people be who they're supposed to be. Deuteronomy 28:46, same. Then the word was wonder, mofat. Wonder, sign, miracle, a special display of God's power. Okay, mofat is from the child root of yafat, to be bright, beautiful. Okay, yafat. So we have here Vayomer, Vayomer, Yael, Moshe, Lo, Yisha, Elechem, Paro, Lama'an, Revot, Mofati, Ba'eretz, Mitzrayim. So we're going to look at this as a wonder, sign, miracle, special day, display of God's power. We're going to look at this. And then and the Lord said unto Moses, Pharaoh will not hearken unto you, that my wonders may be multiplied in the land of Egypt. Well, man, how blatant were the wonders in Egypt? So the word for wonders that he used to describe the curses on the children of Israel for disobedience is the same wonders that was in Egypt. Very plain. That's 3D before there was 3D. You ain't got to go get the special glasses or go try to go to a certain movie theater to see that in 3D. That was live and in the flesh. So if that's the case, that's the same word used to describe the curses on the children of Israel. So the signs to tell the time and to describe what he did in Egypt was exactly how, sorry, Ms. Bell, was exactly how the sign and they wonder upon thy seed forever. I hope that makes sense. That the way he described the curses for disobedience on Israel for you and your progeny will be like the same sign to know when it's time for Pesach. It will be a wonder like when I slapped them with plague and locusts and frogs and darkness. So now when you talk about people of color in their past, oh, it's not like that. Now who getting duped? Who getting duped? I hope that makes sense. The TransSaharan slave trade. Okay. The Islamic trade was conducted on a different scale and with a different impact, unlike the Atlantic trade, which began late and grew intensively. It had begun some 8 centuries earlier. You know what 8 centuries mean, right? That's 800 years. So in other words, before you got put on a boat, you were already in captivity like 800 years. You've been in like an 800-year captivity. I'm just saying. And nobody will tell you that. It had begun 8 centuries earlier, and except at certain periods, it involved lower average annual volumes. The social and cultural importance of slavery itself was greater than its economic one. Okay? So the aspect of the people of the land of blacks being a slave was more important than money. That was in Islam's Black Slaves, Segal, page 3 and 4. I'm going to read something. Jeremiah, go in my office and get my book. It's says, just walk that way, son. Islam's black slaves on there. And we're going to look at something in there. I thought I brought it out here. Sorry, it happens. All right, so the TransSaharan trade, they went this way, up and down the Sahara, and this way, and through the Indian Ocean. That's it, Rick. Okay, so I'm going to read some out this book really quick. Thanks, son. On page 21, the same book. This is as the Arab is conquering Egypt. So when they conquered Egypt, this is after they kind of went into Ethiopia and they had asylum. Because in Ethiopia, there was a certain kind of worship. Monotheism. You know, King Solomon and Sheba and the descendants, and they believed in one Yah. They actually accepted Christianity fairly quick, right? Remember Philip and the Ethiopian eunuch? So they already had the so by the time the Arabs come in later in the 600s, whatever, they had asylum because once they started believing or following Allah, they believed in just one God. Okay, so they had asylum there. Anyway, they go up in Egypt and they conquer Egypt. This is what they said when they conquered Egypt. When the Arab general Amir ibn al-As in his conquest of Egypt reached Alexandria, his report to the Caliph Umar clearly communicated his wonders. I have taken a city which I can only say that it contains 4,000 palaces, 4,000 baths, 400 theaters, 1,200 greengrocers, and 40,000 Jews. And that was in the year 600 some AD. Can somebody read me Acts 18 and 24? Acts 18 and 24. I think somebody else give me Acts 6 and 9. Just want to make sure this man in this book here, this Islamic book, said that when he went to Egypt, when they conquered Alexandria, all right, he found 40,000 Yahudim.
And a certain Yehudi named Apollos, born at Alexandria.
From where?
Alexandria. Apollos.
Where was he from?
Alexandria.
I wonder if this is the same Alexandria where they found 40,000 Jews when the Arabs came in. Oh, I don't know, about 500-600 years later. Go ahead and finish reading, brother.
A learned man and mighty in the scriptures came to Ephesus. This one had been instructed in the way of the master. And being fervent in spirit, he was speaking and teaching the matters about the master exactly, though he knew only the immersion of Yochanan. And he began to speak boldly in the congregation. And when Aquilus and Priscilla heard him, they took him aside and explained to him the way of Elohim more exactly.
Hallelujah. So we have a brother Apollos who's from Alexandria, which is in Africa. Okay. So this is in Shaul's time after Christ, but we have a book written by the Arabs talking about when they go into Alexandria to conquer the city, there are 40,000 Yehudi here. Them are your peoples. I'm just saying. Acts 6 and 9. Acts 6 and 9. I thought you had to figure there.
Then there arose certain of the synagogue, which is called the synagogue of the Libertines and Syrians and Alexandrians, and of them of Cilicia and of Asia, disputing the Stephen.
There were synagogues from where?
The Libertines
And
the Syrians.
The Syrianese.
And the Alexandrians.
And the Alexandrianese.
And of them of Cilicia and of Asia.
So out of the places that were named, 3 of them was in Africa. Synagogues, places of study, learning, coming. But didn't they write letters to the brethren in Egypt and said, man, just hang on to Yah. We know you ain't home, but hang on to him. Sukkot's coming up. Keep the feast of Yah. So we have outside sources talking about the Yehudim. We have the Bible. Now when you kind of look at it, like, man, I didn't realize that was in Acts 18. I didn't realize that was in Acts 6. That they were talking about synagogues and 3 of them coming out, people coming out of. So now the brother Shimon carrying, that makes so much sense. That makes so much sense now. That makes so much sense. Arab Islam, Ishmael. Arab Islam, Ishmael. He got a problem with you. Oh, he got a problem with you. Oh, if I say, I got a problem with him. It runs so deep. It runs so deep. I was born first. I got circumcised before Isaac. I heard my daddy tell my mama we was gonna get it. And then his crazy old woman can't have no baby, ain't fruitful between her legs. She can't have no baby. We the promise. I done got circumcised. Then all of a sudden this little ragtag baby come out of here. She old as I don't know what. Done popped out a baby. And now all of a sudden he gonna say, we gotta go. Then we can turn around and come back. Then she get mad again and we gotta go. My dad gonna tell me that God said that I'm gonna be a strong and mighty nation. Yeah, I got a problem with you. Every time I see you, it's on and popping. I don't care what corner of the earth you at, I got a problem with you. That's my daddy. I'm the oldest. I got beef with you. See how deep that is? Look when that started. In 642 AD. 800 years later, 1442. I wonder why I slowed down. Oh, my bad. European slave trade kicked my bad. I'm sorry. I forgot about that. So, just look at the years. So when y'all said I'm going to get you, when he said I'm going to hit the hammer, oh, he wasn't playing. Woo, he wasn't playing. Right, but we read some of the Mungo Park books, some of just a little excerpts where he said, hey man, they had Yehudi out there, but they pray, they speak in Arabic, and they pray like the Moors. 1,238 years, just that right there. That's just roughly, between these two religions, making contact on the African continent, where many Hebrews were settled. It's a long time. So we asked the question, what were we doing before Islam came in 600 AD? And the Europeans came on the West Coast in 1400. What were y'all doing? You believe it. Therefore thou shalt serve thine enemies which the Lord shall send against thee in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in want of all things. He shall put a yoke of iron upon the neck until he have destroyed thee. Deuteronomy 28:46. I wonder if he meant a yoke like that. Sometimes Most High, he's speaking riddles and parables. It ain't always, like what he saying me, Jeremy. You know how he do. I wonder if it's like that. I wonder if we noticed that during the Roots. I wonder if anybody noticed that. I mean, just when I was a kid and my parents and grandparents, when this stuff was coming out, Alex Haley, who's from Tennessee, Henning, Tennessee. If the people noticed that or realized that, or if the scriptures was, because Oluwatu Ikwanu did, but he had more of his culture and customs back from where he was in Nigeria. So when they started telling him about Christianity, he was like, I don't understand it. But when he started looking through that law, he understood it. What did he say? He said, I got invigorated about this book. I became very excited, yes. Jeremiah 34:17. Therefore thus saith the Lord, ye have not hearkened unto me in proclaiming liberty, everyone to his brother and every man to his neighbor. Behold, I proclaim the liberty for you, saith the Lord, to the sword. So I'm going to bring you liberty. I'm going to bring you all you want. I'm going to bring you the sword. Pestilence. Famine. And I will make it to be, and I had to do this and highlight it because my eyes are so bad. Removed into all the kingdoms of the earth. So I'm going to cut you and gut you. I'm going to send pestilence. I'm going to starve you out. Then I'm going to remove you to all the kings of the earth. You talking about relationship going south. Right, but what was going on here, right? This was the Yehudim, right? We talked about last couple of weeks, not releasing their brother. Right? So we had to look and see last week, were the West Africans enslaving their own and selling their own. And I say West Africans, I mean the Hebrews, because Africans do not sell Africans. Hebrews sold Hebrews. Africans sold Hebrews. Arabs sold Hebrews. Denominator of the Hebrews. That's the denominator. The numerator, it varied. They were scrapping. They were fighting for that territory. Matthew 27, 24 to 25, when Pilate saw that he could not prevail nothing, but that he was rather a tumult was made, he took the water and washed his hands before the multitude, saying, I am innocent of the blood of this just person, see ye to it. Then answered all the people and said, that once again, my eyes is bad, his blood be on us and our babies. I wonder when you combine that with the curses of Deuteronomy 28, how much worse does that get? I wonder how, you know, like you got a cold, like I got a cold, and then it's cold outside, and I go outside with no socks and shoes on. I go to the mailbox. So I wonder what that, I just can't imagine what that would be like. Wait, what did you just say? This is what they said. Like, I don't know if they ever just, did you, because we're talking about Yeshua now. We're talking about the one who's coming for you. And you said, kill him, get rid of him. Give us Barabbas. The false father. Wait, what'd you say? Did they say what I think they said? Even the baby was like, what'd you say? I don't know, blood on me. I ain't got nothing to do with it. Jackson jumped up. Jackson the cat jumped up there and said, what? How will the Israelites and their offspring, right? So now we're getting, so how will the Israelites and the offspring, because we read in Jeremiah 34, so we know Yah's real. He's not going to tell a story. So how will they be forced into all kingdoms, right? We're not talking about, I got the freedom to move, done packed up my stuff, done jumped in the truck, No. I'm going to force you.
All right.
I'm going to make you go.
Come on.
So how we do it to all the kingdoms? There's one way. There's one way. Oh, you know them slaves. Yeah, who else went through it? I'll wait for the answer. Who else did? And now that we know, because I like to talk about this because it's not just to the Atlantic. It was, but what about the Indian Ocean? What about that way? Is that why there's so many dark people over this way? Well, you know, no, he said, I'm going to force you to all kingdoms. So we talk about the 800 plus year of the TransSaharan slave trade, that's through the desert. Right? And then that trade was more about the ladies than the fellas. Because what do we read? From the Arabs' point of view, it's more about our culture. What he's saying is more about the women. The men, sorry, you're going to be castrated. You're done. No reproducing for you. But the ladies, come be our concubine. And if you're not pleasing, I'll sell you somewhere. I'm going to get my money out for you. So, he wasn't playing. He wasn't playing. He wasn't joking around. Isaiah 42, let's see what he said. Hear ye deaf and look ye blind that ye may see. Who is blind but my servant? So when we talk about in Exodus how Yah says that you're to be a kingdom of priests, is that why he's called but my servant? Because Jacob or Jacob's descendant had a certain job to do, a certain role to play in leading all the nations to me. But at the mountain, your hearing went bad. You had some issues. He said, who was blind but my servant? or as deaf as my messenger that I sent. So Yahshua, like, hey, he sent me. So Yah sent Israelites to do a certain job. Didn't get it done. Who is blind as he that is perfected, and blind as the Lord's servant, seeing many things, but thou observest not, opening the ears, but thou hearest not. The Lord is well pleased for his righteousness' sake. He will magnify the law and make it honorable. But this people, robbed and spoiled, they are all them snared in holes. They are hid in prison houses. For they are for prey, and none deliver for its spoil. Can somebody find me in the curses in Deuteronomy 28 where the beast of the field or the winged animals, no one can fray them away? It should be somewhere in that chapter. They are for prey, a prey, and none delivereth, for a spoil, none saith restore. Who among you will give ear to this? Are we not saying the same thing now? Who will hearken and hear for the time to come? Who gave Jacob for a spoil and Israel to the robbers? Did not the Lord? He against whom we have sinned. For they will not walk in his ways, neither were they obedient until his law. Therefore he poured out upon him the fury of his anger and the strength of battle, and had sent him on fire round about. Yet he knew not, and it burned him, yet he laid it not to heart. So Jacob is not even understanding. So one of the things about Jacob is that the Israelites will go through so much hee-haw and not realize that God's doing it to them. That's what he said. They knew not. It burned them. They laid it not to heart.
26.
Can somebody read that? Is it Deuteronomy 28 and 26?
And thy carcass shall be meat unto all fowls of the air and unto the beasts of the earth, and no man shall fray them away.
Ooh, and what did he say? And I said, he was so mad. He done told Moses to tell them before they even go into the land. Now they in the land. Now they got kingdoms. They done built, they done set up. They done had David. They done went through Solomon. And now it's King Hezekiah's time. And he said, Isaiah, you go tell them that therefore I pray, and none delivereth. The beasts of the field. So when you're driving down the street and there's a deer in the middle of the road, that's what you call it, roadkill. And the vultures are sitting there eating, and when you drive, what the vultures do? They flap away. You drive by, they come back. Yah said that your carcass no one will fray away. There's roadkill out there. You driving and the buzzers saying, I'm eating. Ain't nobody gonna stop me from this meal. That's what your father said. It's all right. But he ain't talking about you, though. He ain't talking about you. He ain't talking about you. So, prison houses. This was called a slave coffle, where they, line. This is before. This is in Africa. You ain't got on the ship yet. They done grabbed you up and grabbed me and grabbed you and grabbed. They got stuff for the babies too. Elderly. Don't matter who you are. Don't matter who you are. Line you up, put you up, shackle you up, and you're walking through the jungles. You mess around, get crazy, I let these hyenas eat you up. Then you get taken to the barracks. It's called barracks. The barracks. I think it's called barracks. But this is what will be on the outside. Okay? Where you'd be, but he said I put them in prison houses. Now, we're gonna get to stuff today, but that's what he said, so we gotta find prison houses back then. Oh, wow. Ghana, West Africa. Look at that castle. But them folks had castles and everything. But you know what? The business got bending. That's why folks treat the bending. Bending got so good that the palaces became prisons. Bending was booming. And the palaces became prisons. So in the little storing areas, feces up to your neck. But you know what? Yah did say pestilence and famine. It's going to follow you. That is what he said. At least we know it's true to his word. That's what he said. But Israel, it burned them all around and they didn't know, yet they did not consider. With the drug usage rates mostly equal among all races, while there are 3 blacks to every 2 Hispanics and every 1 white incarcerated for nonviolent drug-related offenses. All the evil conservatives and whites. Actually, Elohim said that who has delivered Jacob for a spoil, and who's robbed him, and who put him in snares and prison holes. So we went over the last 2 weeks about the crafty counsel to strip you, right? So instead of being a young prince, a young noble of Judah, instead of being that, I'm a deep boy, I'm a deep, hey, I got that, right? I got my thing on my hip. Pop, pop, pop. Crafty counsel. And Yah said, I let them do it. I heard every word they said, and I said, man, that's even better than I would have thought. Let them do it. Put the dope out there. Yeah, let the law enforcement. That's awesome. Great, good idea. Because what you do to mine, I'm going to come back and I'm going to come holler at you. That's what he said about the Babylonians.
He sure did. Because you went too
So
far.
you went, I mean, man, I was mad at him. And I wanted you to get him. But man, y'all went a little
Y'all
hard.
went way too far, man.
Don't worry about it. Persians waiting on you. Persians waiting on you. They're going to come in through your water. They're going to come in through your water gates. I'll send one of my messengers to give them that idea. Don't worry about it. They won't come see you. So over here, this is in California, we have young women and they're crying. Why are they crying? They're in jail, man. They're actually being sterilized. Welfare and things like that. And they don't want them having babies if they do get out. They're going through sterilization. But what did Elohim say? He said, I said, y'all spoiled, y'all robbed, I'm going to get you. That's me, my big behind. I was too scared to go in there and sit down. I ain't going there and sit down. I stuck my head in there, and look at all that sweat. It's hot as I don't know what out there. It's hot as out there. I got my nice shoes on, and it's like, you know what though? It was folks up in there screaming and shouting and yelling, and y'all said, well, nobody come help you. Nobody gonna help you. So all these things gonna happen, and they still have not yet considered. Ain't nobody coming to say, ain't nobody coming and pulling that bear off you. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken to the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. Overwhelming. So we look at economics and education and morality and all the different things that are so, just every category that's supposed to be something good, we're last. And then every category that's supposed to be something bad, we're first. First in sickness, first in AIDS, first in poverty, first in lack of education, first in this. Jail rate, all this, we can go on and on and on. And he said they will come over and they will overwhelm you. We'll take a small break and we will pick back up with the blessings because, we go on and on about curses, but we don't want to harp on it. We got to talk about it and we got to be real about it. If there are other things that Yah has said, we want to address them things too. We got to talk about the blessings, but but the curses is for real. This affects us as a whole, as a group, as a whole. Okay, there are individuals who do things, who whatever is succeeding, but as a whole. Okay, so we'll pick up here in a second with the blessings. Thank you.